Drinks on the house when I'm high, nothing's stopping me now. Dancing on the bar all night long, nothing's stopping me now. I don't really care what you think, I just wanna have another drink. So don't come up and tell me what to do, nothing's stopping me now.
SKT Summer
Welcome back to
Split
2019
마지막 주차로
LCK Summer
인사드립니다.
Split, the very
안녕하세요,
last week.
김민아입니다. 자, 오늘
Today we'll be
스타테스트
having a preview show analyst task
함께할게요.
with
안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
Captain
네,
Jack.
안녕하세요. 캡틴 강영호입니다.
네, 이제 정말
This is season with
마지막입니다.
the analyst
끝을 향해서 달리고
translation.
있는데
네.
So,
플레이오프는
the
아직
final
모르죠.
week for
네,
LCK
지금
has
마지막
begun,
차이에도
but
불구하고
nothing has
여섯
been
팀이
settled much
아직
for
플레이오프
the
네
final
자리를
spots in the
경쟁하고 있죠.
playoff.
그만큼
Still, 6 teams are
보통은
competing
일찍이
for the
좀
playoff
더
tickets
결정이
so
되는데
far.
이렇게 된 건
Well,
정말
usually
처음 역대급.
This kind of thing doesn't really happen much in LCK, but this time around, Griffin got their spot in the playoffs. However, 6 teams are still on the playoff run.
항상 국제전에서 그래도 만났어도 TSM이 이번 서머에서는 우선 플레이오프 탈락하는데
Victor mentioning that
전세적으로 롤드컵
TSM,
앞두고
they are
진짜 치열하고
eliminated
많은
from
팬분들이
any
관심도
LCS
폭넓게
playoffs,
가지고
so
그런
a lot of people from various regions, they're having a very competitive season for the very last week for the regular split.
누가 아트록스를
We
하향이라고
have the
했는가?
pick and ban rate top 5 list here.
다시 올랐네요.
네, 뱀핑률 100%뿐만
Aatrox
아니라
still having
계속해서
100%
나오고
pick
픽도
and
많이
ban
되는데
rate.
승률이
However,
일단은
the
50%
win rate doesn't
근접했다는
really
것
show
자체가
that
좀
it's a
움직이라는 걸
broken
보여주는 것 같아요.
champion.
네, 그리고
Well,
뭐
it's below
그 아래로
50%,
아칼리, 뭐 세주 다
and
이제 쭉
below
왔던
that
픽들이고
is actually
아마
Kali,
바로 그
Sejuani,
아래가
Tompkins,
지금
and Yubi.
NX
Those
정도 되는
champions
걸로
has
알고
a very
있거든요. 요즘 유행이
incredible
굉장히
pick and ban
강하고요.
rate. However, besides
또
Sejuani, all the other
저한테는
champions are having a
네,
very low win
많이
rate. So we have to actually rethink
시바나는
that
안
whether
나오네요.
these
네,
champions
그리고
are
꽤
really
자주
worth a
나오는데
pick card
지난주
or a
유난히 승률이
ban
안
card.
좋았던 카드로는 또
네.
커뮤니티에서 LCK 없는 동안 화제가 되기도 했던
And
이제
especially
캐넨
last
같은
week,
경우가 많이
Cannon was
등장하는
also on the
BSC
top
양념을
list of a pick and ban
기록했습니다.
rate, but its win rate is also very
와
low.
유미까지 이렇게 뱀핑률
Tompkins and
3위권에 올라
Yubi, those
있고요.
champions,
지난주
those are very strong or favored by a lot of people in bot side. However, it also has a very low win rate. Griffin is the only team that earned its playoff spot or a ticket.
초비 선수가 다시 폼이 좋아지면서
They are now back on the
다시
first
한번
place, and
날개를
also Tarzan.
그
It was
와중에
actually a
탑에서 또
huge
브론즈
news that he made it back to the first place in the Korean solo queue.
작년이 정말 아쉬웠을 거거든요.
네.
이번엔 롤드컵 가야죠.
So their upcoming schedule is actually a very good news for them. Giner and Hana Life Esports. However, Hana Life, they are now so good at taking down teams that are on the first place. So we'll actually have to wait and see whether they can make it happen
그
again.
하나생명이 그리핀 경기 어떻게
So
되냐와
besides
더불어서
Griffin, there
여섯
are
개
6
팀.
teams still
티켓이 네
running
장밖에
for the
없어요
playoffs.
이제는.
Tama, they're on the second place right now, followed by Sandbox, SK Telecom, Genji, Africa, and Kingzone. Those 6 teams are still having a bit of a possibility for making it into the playoffs. So this final week in LCK will decide who are the rest of the 4 teams that are going to make it to the playoffs.
마지막 주차인데 포스트 시즌 싸움이 계속
It's really interesting that we actually
네.
weren't able to find out the final formulation of the playoff. And Chobi
네, 그렇습니다. 이제
picked
포르투갈이
another
카운터를
unexpected
이제
card
참여
last
과정에서
week.
나왔던
He
걸로
sat in
예상이
up against
되고요.
Corky.
물론 뭐 카사딘이 메인은 아니었습니다.
It was back in
뭐
LCK
카사딘
after
말고도
more than
또
500
이번
days,
주에 지난주에
but
재밌게 나왔던
speaking
또
of
퀸도
Pocket Pick,
있었고요.
actually
그
Kahn
해외
also brought
리그에서는
Queen
가렌까지도
back on the
나오는
Rift
팀도 있었고
after
또
about a
베인도
year.
나왔었죠.
포스시즌 막차를 타기 위해서
Also
각팀들이
in
필살기를
different regions like
하나둘씩 꺼내
LECs
들었다.
or
그 과정에서
LCS card
성공도
was
시켜줬다.
also
이렇게
picked in
기억하면 되죠.
an LEC, and it also got a victory for the first time in a competitive game.
네, 이미 연패 기록은
And
본인들이
lastly,
갱신을 하고 있는
KT,
상황이고
even though they are having a bit of a shaky split this year, well, they are still on a 15 matches winning streak up against Giner, and Giner, they are still on a losing streak. They dropped 22 matches so far in Summer Split, and they have 2 remaining matches for the Summer Split this week.
지금 성적이 더 나와야 하는 상황이고요.
However,
또
their
제가
run is not over.
몸담았던
Giner, they
팀인
are actually settled
수밖에 없죠.
for the
LCK에
relegation
오래
or the
남아있었으면
LCK
좋겠어요,
promotion, so they
개인적으로.
have to keep working hard in the competitive games to
자, 이렇게
kind of
지난주
improve
이슈들
their
정리해봤고요.
performance.
이어서 현재까지의 순위 확인해 보시죠.
And let's take a look at the standings in LCK.
자,
as we
이렇게 승패
mentioned,
상황을
Griffin, they
보시면
locked in
역부급이라는
to
말이
playoff
왜 나오는지 알 수가
On the
있죠.
bottom side, Junior are now down in the
전반적으로
relegations.
굉장히 촘촘하죠. 포스트 시즌 진출 노리는
So the gap
막차를
is
노리고 있는
actually
팀과
like there is no
1위
gap
팀과도
between the
이승
teams
관계
on the
차이가
second place down to
네,
the seventh
킹존까지
place.
아직 경우의 수는 남아 있습니다.
Still, Kingzone also has a possibility for getting the ticket for the playoffs. So this week we'll have to wait and see. But it is more likely that some of the teams on the left side will walk into the playoffs.
싸우면서 단독
And
1위에
this is the
올라갔습니다.
MVP standings.
재밌는 점은
got
이제
200 points last week, so he's the solo MVP winner currently in LCK. But now we have a 6 people tie on 700 points. And the very impressive thing is that all the players from different roles are on the tie. So this meta is not about a specific role carrying the game. It's all about the whole team as a unification. They perform as a team very well. Then it's gonna lead to their victory. And this is the KDA ranking of a top lane. Sword still on the first place, but because the competition is so fierce right now, actually the overall KDA of every player has gone down.
이번 줄 변동이 없습니다.
And there is a change in terms of the jungler from KDA ranking.
타잔 선수 정말 플레이 보면서
Karsan
놀랐다는
has
것밖에 안
stretched
되는데
its gap
정말
between
뛰어난
the
플레이
second place
보여주고 있고요.
player
솔로
Clid.
랭크도
So this
랭킹
is
1등에
kind of relevant to his current performance or
최근에
form
또
because
피너
he's
선수
on a
만나고
very
싶다.
huge
이런
win rate
우스갯
and
뭐
a solo
재밌는
queue
얘기가
as well.
있었는데
Well, he did
좋은
lose a
성적
game of
보여줬습니다.
Kina in solo queue.
괴물이라는
However,
말이 딱
he is
어울리는
still
사람이시고요.
a monster in
여기서
terms of
이즈라이너
solo queue and also in a
스메이커 선수
competitive
계속
game.
잘해주고 있죠?
그렇죠.
And ShowMaker,
미드가 이제
he is still on the
쇼메이커와
first place
투비가
in the mid lane
앞서나가고 있는 가운데
KDA
아까
standings.
말씀드렸던 양상으로
Busan make it to the third place and Fly went down to the fourth place, but the KDA hasn't changed much in terms of mid lane.
네, 이어서 바텀 라인 바이퍼
And
선수가
moving on to
1.1
bot
지금
lane,
전체 1인 거죠?
Viper
네, KDA 전체
is actually on the first place for the whole players in LCK overall. He has a 8.1 KDA right now, so this is the biggest number among all the other players, regardless of their position.
1위를 대부분 다 차지하고 있다라고 볼 수
So
있겠고요.
네,
as
그리고
Griffin, they are on the
서포터에서도
first place in terms of
다시
standings.
1위로
They are also on the
올라왔습니다.
first place in every lane in terms of KDA.
만약에 그 파괴력 있는 유미를
Lihan's
가져가게
also
되면
on the
바이퍼의
first place.
기원들과
He made
더불어서
it back to first
다른
place
아니라도
actually
뭔가 나오지
after
않을까
staying in the second place last week, but he is now back on top of the red ladder and
유미를 안 하시던데
still is a god of Yumi,
위험해집니다.
but
자,
he
이렇게
has not
해서
been
현재
playing Yumi a lot last
순위들까지
week,
모두
but we'll have to wait and
살펴봤습니다.
see this week.
정말 어떻게 흘러갈지 너무너무 기대가 됩니다. 이번 주
So
대진
let's take a
정규
look at
마지막
the
대진이죠.
schedule
저희가
of this
만나볼게요.
week, the very last week of LCK regular split.
네, 경우의 수 먼저
So first,
살펴보도록
let's take a look at the
하겠습니다.
playoff number of
그
cases.
대진 전에 보고 경우의 수를 숙지한
So
다음에
first,
보면 저희가
well,
이제
Griffin,
어떤
they're
경기
locked in
어떤
right now,
가중치를 둬야 될지 더 많이 좀
Tamwon
감이
Sandbox,
올것
they're on the
같은데
tie
너무
for
어려워요.
second
굉장히
place,
복잡해
and
보이고
followed by
텍스트가
SK
많은데 뭐
Telecom
간단하게 좀
and
이쪽부터
Africa and Genji.
정리하면
They're on
우선
tie
그리핀
for
같은 경우에는
fifth
본인들의
place, and
자력으로
Kingzone, even though they are on the seventh place, they still have the possibility to make it to the playoffs. So if Griffin is able to pick up 2 victories this week, they will be the number 1 team for the regular split, and also they will get the seed for Worlds. And Damwon and Sandbox, if they are able to get any victories this week, they will lock into playoff as well. And also SK Telecom, any victory will guarantee their spot in the playoffs. However, Africa and Genji, they need a 2-0 victory to kind of enhance their possibility to making it into the playoffs.
재경기를 갈 수 있는
And
경우의 수까지
well,
봐야 하다 보니까
Kingzone, they actually
더욱더
have a
어려운
very
상황이라고 볼수
certain
있겠죠.
indication for them to make it to the playoff. They want Africa Genji to have a 0-2 loss and Kingzone get a 2-0 victory, so they're gonna have a 10 wins and 8 losses, so they can be on a tie, so they can have a 3-way tiebreaker match. So it's a bit of a complicated situation, so we'll have to say they have a very low possibility, but still, it has not been settled yet. So, to put it simple, well, the teams on the top side of the ladder, they are almost there, but the teams on the bottom, they need to wait and see, or wait for specific situations.
자, 오늘
네.
당장
This
첫
is
번째
the
매치
schedule for
SKT와
this
담원이
week.
기다리고
The
있죠.
first match,
진짜,
SKT versus
의미 있는
DWG.
날에 또
This will be the
휴일에다가
biggest
SK
match
재밌는
of
경기도
this
있기
week.
때문에 팬분들은 굉장히 신나시는 상태일 것 같아요.
Today is
어떤
a national
수준 높은
holiday
경기에
in
그게 어떤 승리를
Korea,
이어질
so
건지
we are
진짜
expecting
기대가
a lot of
경기
viewers
하나하나가
watching
다
for this
중요하면
match.
안 중요한 경기가
And
없어요.
well,
네.
since
네,
not
그리고
many teams are
마지막
actually
날
excited
정말
in LCK
그리핀의
regular split,
고춧가루를
we really
마지막을
shouldn't miss any of these
장식할지
matches coming in
기대됩니다.
this
종종
week.
나오는 이야기죠. SK 대진표 누가 짰냐.
네.
저런 거 예상하고 짠 건 아니지만 하나생명이 어떤 1위를
If
정말
Hana
잡아내는
Life on the
탁월한
very
능력을
last match
보여줬는데
of this
저
week
마지막 경기에서
take down
과연
Griffin this
그리핀의
week, we'll have
그
another
서머뿐
huge
아니라
upset
가을
in the summer split, and
롤드컵까지
as well
결정될 거냐,
the autumn
하나생명이
about
어떤
the
경기를
world's
보여줄 거냐,
qualifier
이것도 많은 분들이 기대하실
gunflip
수밖에
run.
없습니다.
네, 이렇게 해서 지난주
So this
이번
will
주
wrap
대진
up this
일정과 또
week's,
경우의 수까지
Preview Analyst
살펴봤습니다.
Task
이것도
Show,
정말
and I'm
한 경기 한
gonna
경기 놓칠
pass
경기가
it back to our
하나도
casters. Thank
없습니다.
you.
끝까지 응원해 주시길 바랍니다. 저희 첫 번째 매치 시작해 보도록
So let's
하겠습니다.
jump over to the
SKT
Rift, SKT versus
기다리겠습니다.
DAMWON Gaming.
지금부터 만나보시죠.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final week of LCK 2019 Summer. I'm Atlas, this is, of course, Papa Smithy, to take you through the turmoil that is the LCK on this beautiful public holiday. It's Liberation Day here.
That's right, better known as Gwangbokjeol for Koreans here. It is, of course, the end of Japanese occupation of Korea. Awkward topic given the current kind of political climate, but 74 years ago that was the case, so we're commemorating that today. And now it's all about working out those playoff ramifications, Atlas. It's very close up the top. It seems
Absolutely.
likely that Griffin will control first place because they have a fairly easy strength of schedule. They have control over their fate. Everyone else is kind of looking around them left and right and looking for results to go their way to enhance their chances of second, third, fourth, of all those positions to skip those best of fives and that wild card best of three.
Yeah, and strength of schedule is a really interesting question to put out there as well, Papa Smithy, because what do you make of Hanwha Life as far as their competitive viability in the last week, after taking down in back-to-back games DAMWON and SKT? Both of these teams that we're starting off with in our first match today, this is going to be a huge decider when we're looking at what the playoffs are going to look like and what the next matches are going to look like as well. I'm really glad that we have this first off, because this is really going to set the tone for what is going to be the final regular season week.
Speaking of finals, like as of what, 3 weeks ago, you would have assumed this would have been the LCK Summer Final.
Absolutely.
SKT and DAMWON both flying around Rift Rivals and after Rift Rivals for SKT in particular yet. SKT tripping against Hanwha Life, and that was a really significant trip. They were the ones that controlled first place before then with the sort of run-in they had, but now they desperately need to win today, Atlas. They are not going to be out of playoffs or in playoffs with a victory, but if they win, they're going to be somewhere into the playoffs consideration, you'd assume. And right now, they could be starting in the wildcard best of three. They could be skipping best of fives. We're not to know. Meanwhile, DAMWON Gaming, they're not exactly in flying position when it comes to first spot, but they're aspiring where they can.
Yes. And DAMWON Gaming, of course, still do have a very good match record at the moment, currently tied for that first place on that 11 win mark. Of course, the dream is to be heading towards those 13 wins in order to get yourself up there in contention with a Griffin that looks like they're on the road to holding on to that first place.
And 13 wins means top three. There's no
Yes.
way that SKT or FLICKR can reach 13 wins, so that would be, like you say, skipping the wildcard match. That's already a huge boon, because anything can happen in a postseason best of three. Looking over the numbers, and consistency has definitely been there for DAMWON Gaming over SKT, who started low and rose up to 10-6, 1-5 to 10-6. So definitely take it if you're an
Damn
SKT fan. That is a great record, 9-1 in the most recent 10 matches. But SKT haven't played since that Quinn match last week, where I'm sure their fans have a little bit of umbrage with the draft and the fact that things didn't go their way. But DAMWON Gaming, you know, the losses a couple of weeks ago definitely do stick out, and this could be really close. This could be a stomp. We're going to learn something about the postseason and honestly, even potential Worlds qualification, because there's no guaranteed scenario that both SKT and DAMWON represent the LCK at Worlds 2019.
And DAMWON's last win was against KT as well. So what did we learn there? Very little, actually, because of KT's recent struggles. We're having a look at SKT in their last loss against Hanwha Life. It was a 3-game series, so highlights are something that we will be able to find. However, it wasn't the SKT that people had been expecting after the 9-match winning streak. This was an upset of all upsets, even though we probably should have been somewhat expectant of this sort of result, given the fact that DAMWON had recently lost to Hanwha as well.
The funny thing about that is I completely follow that logic, and yet I was surprised with how kind of listless SKT was in this series, and how Live continued to play well. So I think it had to be both, given the great form SKT was in. Even that same Hanwha that beat DAMWON Gaming, I wouldn't have put head-to-head against SKT in a favorable way, but SKT definitely were not their same selves from the 9-match win streak. Let's move over to DWG Gaming, and like you say, a 2-0 over KT is kind of there with a 2-0 over Jin Air when it comes to being able to equate much out of this series. What I will say about DWG is they made some nice macro calls where they were really good about pushing 3 lanes and bringing SKT to them. So even though they often had team fighting disadvantages in their comps, they were able to pilot them smartly, and they were the better team on the day.
Yeah, I really did enjoy it from a macro standpoint, and DWG Gaming have been a team that's been more about throwing their weight around with players like ShowMaker with Nuguri, so it was great to see them play the more controlled style of League of Legends, even if that is something that we hold with a little bit of fear when it comes to the LCK. We want people to play fast. However, DWG playing fast as well as being able to play smart is a really great adaptation for them. But can they translate it to the other side of the telecom war is the question.
And here we have our featured matchup. It's FLICKR versus ShowMaker. I think ShowMaker has been handedly the best mid laner of summer. Consistent at worst and popping off at best. His Akali games are always going to be big, and this will be a contested pick between the two. Akali power level feeling nice and high. ShowMaker versus FLICKR could light up the Rift. They could be farming it out. We're still on 9:15. Will we see any incremental changes? And I'm sure people are looking left and right to what's happening in the LPL, to LCS playoffs, and to the LEC.
Yeah, see, and also maybe over to Gen G as well. The Kiana performance from Rich last time they set foot on the Rift was an exciting one, and is something that feels in ShowMaker's wheelhouse, and he's been practicing it a bit. So I'd be excited to see whether we're going to get her out once again. But let's introduce the players to LoL Park. Will be the SKT roster that you have come to expect. No Mata in that support position, as these guys really do need to make some momentum moving towards the playoffs. This is the SKT that were able to go on that 9-match winning streak, that were able to find their form again. They stumbled against Hanwha, but I think that probably acted more as a wake-up call than anything else for this squad.
The intriguing thing, though, Atlas, is that we're on August 15th today. They beat Afrika Freaks on August 3rd, didn't play till a week later, where they had that stumble where they looked in a funk, and now they play 5 days after that. So they've actually only played one best-of-3 in 12 days, which, given our schedule, is certainly atypical. So let's see how they look
Similar
today.
to DWG, actually. They also only played that one game against KT, so...
But the loss, the fact that so recently they had that momentum is what have the last 12 days looked like? You almost want the highlight of that in the vlog rather than what we saw. Most recently, the victory over Griffin was what was highlighted. And SKT's last transmission. They move over to DWG Gaming again. Last transmission, they definitely looked a lot better just looking on their side. Against KT Rolster, the roster stays the same. Nuguri comes back in. I'm happy that SKT haven't thrown everything out the window after a loss. Like Mata doesn't return, they're not making any other changes. And for DWG Gaming, I wonder if they lose game 1, is Flame getting subbed straight in there? Because he was subbed in their last loss.
He was. I think that was under pretty extreme circumstances. Nuguri had one of those absolute horrors of a game, and you could imagine that his mental fortitude probably took a bit of a hit there, which is exactly why they subbed Flame in. So that would be why I would assume that would have happened. I think that Nuguri's mental has certainly solidified over this season. However, taking that loss was a difficult one for him. We'll see whether he can keep his head in this one, because I think DAMWON need Nuguri to be playing out of his mind, just regular Nuguri style, in order to win this game.
And SKT get to play spoiler to 2 teams that could get to 13 match wins. You might say, whatever, SKT could just grow up in the playoffs and run the gauntlet and potentially win from there and get some experience. What I'll say is, if they end up top 2, they are guaranteed worlds. And with that on the line, compared to spring season where maybe you try to win the gauntlet, only number 1 really matters, being top 2 is such a load off. You get to already be in Worlds and go from there. Griffin, SKT, if that is the final of LCK, both teams are guaranteed for Worlds, but that's a discussion for later this week. 4 match days, today is the first, and we have a banger of a first match. SKT versus DAMWON. A best of 3 today, a best of 5 in the future, hopefully.
Well, we'll see, as SKT will be on the blue side to start this one off. Welcome to Champion Select, ladies and gentlemen, for our first match of Week 10. Yuumi is going to be banned away, and Teddy's Ezreal is going to follow. If you cast your minds back, guys, DAMWON has a pretty fantastic win record against SKT historically, and they did lose in the first round robin. Of course, this was an SKT in a funk, but Papa, how much is it the SKT funk, and how much is it just DAMWON being able to get the better of this team?
I think when you look over the year-long rivalry between these teams, it started in Kesper Cup. Remember, SKT had just debuted their new roster. We were calling them the Dream Team.
Yeah.
And then DAMWON, fresh out of Challenger, just before their LCK debut, got that surprise victory over them. And
They
that was just a
backhanded them,
Kesper
yeah.
Cup, you might say. But since then, they've been trading victories. DAMWON, even in spring when they were a little bit lower, were able to take down SKT. It was a 2-1 victory in the first round robin as well. So this is evolving into a new age rivalry between the young mechanical guns and SKT's veteran lineup. So it's super fun to track on and try to make heads or tails of. I think SKT look listless. They could definitely be back on their game today,
Oh, yeah.
and you would hope that DAMWON is right there next to them. Looking over the pick ban, Azir Corki meta has been abated with bans. Where's the first pick priority for SKT? As I think the most important thing today for us to look at, Atlas, is Clid, because his performance against DAMWON last time, he was really struggling, and that was during SKT's losing streak, but he in isolation was the large reason they lost to DAMWON on that day, Xinjiao in particular.
Yeah, it was
in game
the
number 2.
0-3 at about 10 minutes into the
At
game.
8 minutes, Atlas. It was
yeah.
super early. Clid has been much better, rising like a phoenix in that win streak.
And
We'll
this
watch
is
and
what-
see. And
yeah.
we mentioned Akali. We gave it lip service during the FLICKR versus ShowMaker featured matchup. We already know very early who the Akali team will be.
And we absolutely know that SKT would have expected this, right? Because every team bans Akali against ShowMaker. It's been happening for many weeks. So,
What flavor of answer, though? Is it going to be the
Exactly.
Karma tether? Is it going to be the LeBlanc tether?
oh, where's the
tether
Kiana?
champions?
Give me the Kiana into the
It's
Akali.
more
That's what
bold,
I want.
Atlas, more bold. The tether champions with the latest changes on
Yeah,
9:15
the extra vision.
are the ones you largely consider, so we'll see if SKT will go down that way. As SKT are actually amping the pressure onto potentially DAMWON Gaming's Achilles heel. The blind pick Varus Tom with no bot laner selected from DAMWON means that they have one of the strongest blind duos that you can potentially draft, and also they will have 2 bans against one half of a duo lane, so it's very unlikely that DAMWON Gaming will be able to put together a 2v2 that can stand tall against SKT, because you can't take Zyra Kahn. One of the bans will come out, and other pieces will be banned as well. So what will DAMWON's decision be? They take the Zyra, and they'll have to deal with some support bans.
And now SKT has to ban Rakan Alistar, I think. Almost guaranteed.
Sure.
Just because BeryL's so good at Alistar and Zyra Rakan is something that they need to prioritize. We'll see whether DAMWON can then get something good to Nuguri based on that, because the cannon is likely to go through. Whatever DAMWON doesn't ban is going to be on the table for them.
But don't we love SKT amping the pressure onto the most unsteady part of DWG?
Yes.
Because you can ban Nuguri and ShowMaker's champions, but I think it has pretty minimal effect. They just pick the strongest laning potential and slam you from there. But Nuclear and BeryL have been very inconsistent in lane and out of lane. Investing into Nuclear very often is the sometimes that DWG Gaming can struggle, so I don't mind this focus onto the bot side. Kahn ban, as we mentioned, is already taken away. And look at this, we're going to see probably a top lane focus, but also FLICKR is probably our best AP Nico, so a lot of value there. And they say, well, we'll take the Karma on the chin if we have to, but no LeBlanc for that tether champion.
Yeah, exactly. I think that leaving the Karma available as well is something that DAMWON are pretty happy to do, because she's a low-impact champion, not exactly going to be explosive around this game. And FLICKR does play well when he's playing around roaming champions,
And
things
Karma
like that.
does fit this comp ideal really well, because it's very much 2-item Varus build, movement speed for a Skarner. So I think Karma could definitely be in heavy consideration for SKT. No Aatrox to round it out, but we'll see what the top laner is to be. Support is what you'd assume at this pick, and Braum is the tier list champion.
Surprising that BeryL didn't go towards his Alistar. It has been very, very impressive.
Laning phase, though, is what you sacrifice with taking Alistar, and they want to find some laning relevance to not just get monstered. Here is the mid lane Karma pick for FLICKR that we were predicting. Top lane is kind of up in the air, though. You can go a lot of different ways here. Because you're looking for mid-game, maybe more initiation would be nice, but not the easiest to get. This might actually be AP Cannon, just because that would really kind of seal a super strong 5v5 mid-game.
That being said, I think that the on-hit cannon is better in the laning phase, and maybe Kahn will need that in order to even things out. BeryL hovering a few interesting champions. This is most likely going to be the Nuguri choice, but we could be seeing the Akali heading towards the top side of the map. We don't necessarily know how this is going to go, and maybe the Akali wants to avoid the Karma matchup like you were talking about. Could still be the case, as the Jace is locked in, and ShowMaker has been one of our more impressive Jace players, maybe only Jace mid players, second maybe only to Chovy, who went up 40 CS ahead of the clock last time he played, which was just disgusting.
Teddy there, far from disgusting. Loving the cheerfuls we're seeing from the audience here. We are, of course, epically packed. We saw so many global fans and took photos with them who were like, oh, you came to see the games? Like, nope, couldn't get tickets. That was the consistent thing.
Yeah.
Only couple of seconds before those tickets sold out, and here we are, and what a game to feast our eyes on. DAMWON Gaming want to keep Kahn on a leash here and stop him from being able to go AP, and maybe he has to go AD just to have some relevance.
That's
in
what
the
I'm thinking.
1v1.
I think it's scary, yeah.
And that's what the Jace provides, is it says, okay, well, whatever you're taking, I'm Jace, and the laning phase power is always super clear, so definitely not hating that. Only a single game top lane Akali from Nuguri, just because it doesn't have priority on many top lane matchups. It doesn't necessarily fit him to a T. This is an epic mid-game comp from SKT. If this starts the right way, you just park yourselves into the mid-game, and Kahn, whether he goes AD or AP, will give us a little bit more intel on how they want to approach things. The tether does have value against the Karma because the reveal is there on the end of the W. Meanwhile, for DAMWON, it is kind of quintessential DAMWON, a lot of playmaking, not necessarily a true 5v5 comp, but one that can definitely roleplay as one as well. We'll see where the targeting is, because the ban focus was on bot lane, but actually being able to kill Xayah and Braum, not a trivial task.
That is true. And I think it works well as a decent disengage composition as well. They've got a lot of ways to avoid aggression. Slight pause before we get into this one, guys. Just trying to figure things out. I find it happens quite a lot on day number 1, where we're just going to shake our sillies out just a little bit.
It's day number 1, but not of a new patch, so we're a little bit surprised that things are in a funk. The FLICKR fighting behind the Korean sign that I'm sure the Korean side is talking about. We'll let you know any translations we're sent out to. There's FLICKR. Very nice T1 logo on the right. Is that BMO on the left?
I think so. That last one was the guy saying that he left his girlfriend at home to come and watch the match.
There you go. Priorities, mate.
Yeah,
loving it.
Hopefully she's not watching.
FLICKR see you in the 2019 World Championship. Well, to be fair, they are, of course, in a very good spot in order to make it to that tournament. God FLICKR T1 win. Yes, we're looking at an efforts computer here, it seems like.
Yeah, Effort having a few issues here, as you can see Teddy looking quizzically over at his support. Looks like we have potentially resolved something, unless we're still communicating what the problem is. Just can't wait to get into this series.
Well, it's too late in the season for too many problems, Atlas. We're all about solutions here, because every team has got some business to attend to. Because the only guarantees are that Griffin ends top 5 and that Jin Air are in relegation. Literally everything else is up in the air, and that's so hype for a final week of the season where sometimes all the business is done. DAMWON Nuguri.
And that's Coach Kim's friend, I believe, on the right. That's what he's saying.
Could have been one of the other coaches as well, but definitely a friend of the coaching staff there. What is that?
I'm watching you, is what it says.
There's some DAMWON Gaming doodles here.
That's adorable.
Canyon's got a very long face.
He does, and weird round eyebrows.
I feel like the Nuguri's pretty...
yeah, that's a pretty accurate
You either
Nuguri,
draw
actually.
a raccoon, like we can see above, or you go for his face like that.
Yep.
The rack attack spam in chat, no doubt, is there. As well, that's a great drawing. This looks like something from like... what am I thinking of? I'm actually thinking of Archie comics, actually. It's kind of a Veronica, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel it. I don't know why she's only got one front tooth, but maybe that's just a stylistic thing. Rebooting FLICKR. We're rebooting his PC, guys.
Even the great FLICKR has to have his PC rebooted once in a while.
I don't know how, but Effort's issue infected FLICKR's PC as well.
Wait, it's a local area network.
Oh, no.
I'm holding my breath till Nuguri gets an MVP. We should mention this. You think it's tied at the top and at the bottom. It's tied in the MVP race. Canyon has been stealing votes from his star solo laners and actually is currently rank 1 in MVP, 100 points ahead of 5 people, and then like probably half the league is at 600 points. We're getting no 12, was it 1,300 for Trophy or 1,400 last season? It was a lot of points.
It was a lot of points. It was, I think it was like 1.1, 1.2, around there at the end.
Here are some celebrations. We already mentioned it's 74th anniversary of Korean Liberation Day, so a big day. A public holiday here in Korea. Kahn Aatrox drawing, as we could see on the other side, is most played by far, but banned in this game by DAMWON.
Yep, not going to be seen. Chinese fan flying over
Season 9.
Watch.
Hey, we got a band together.
Yeah.
We got a band together with China. Remember, Europe took it down at MSI, so if Asia's going to win, maybe got to start opening up our doors. Just like the West, right? The North Americans like, we're Europeans for a while. Whenever the European teams would get there, it's holy moly, that's a good
that is a flame. Oh my, it's like David Bowie flame. That's extraordinary.
David Bowie and Flame probably would have had an interesting conversation.
I reckon they probably would too.
Sadly, that is a meeting that is impossible now.
It is.
Rest in peace, David Bowie.
Also, you know, quite difficult given, you know, when Bowie was still with us, Flame's English wasn't so good.
No.
Might have been a tough.
I mean, he went over to FlyQuest, he went over to North America. He's got a bit of English.
I did.
The timelines are like a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
I'm loving all the regional representation, the Korean flags. It definitely is a day to fly the flag, and hopefully a day to fly the flag globally in terms of Sick League of Legends, because SKT DAMWON. I'd be disappointed if this is a stomp. Either way, I think this should be really competitive, and unless
it's a stomp in the right way, right? Unless it's one of these teams figuring out their composition exceptionally well and not letting the other team play. Like, I want a stomp, but I want it to be because one of the teams is really good, not someone being bad.
And I can get behind that, but yet it also means that the other team is very unlikely to factor into Worlds qualification when both these teams were right up there. Like, I want SKT and DAMWON to be competing right to the end, and that's something that right now we don't 100% have clarity on.
This girl came from Ulsan by herself.
Wow, that's
just
a long
to
trip.
see FLICKR.
Well, there he is.
He's right there. Yeah.
We're zooming in on FLICKR. Definitely someone that everyone does a bit of a spit take or really adjust themselves when they see them in real life. He is someone who, even before the games, like 25 minutes before when the settings are being done, the crowd of people trying to take photos of FLICKR is really like paparazzi, you know? Like, it's insane how many people just want to get there because FLICKR is not just esports famous. He is legit a celebrity in Korea. You know, I always talk about this, but for SK Telecom, who are like the Verizon or AT&T of Korea, when they did their national 5G push, it was a Tottenham Hotspur footballer and FLICKR. You know, it was sports meets sports, and that's a big indication of things is, wait, T1 and a raccoon, what's going on here?
That's just saying the title of the match. What? Oh, what the heck? It's on his belly? What is...
That's what a superhero, that's what they would wear.
Looking forward to a great game from both teams. And that's how you be a fan of both. You have a raccoon that's a SKT player. It's adorable.
I don't know. Are you okay with people coming in unbiased today, Atlas? I want to see some hardcore.
I mean, we should, probably.
Hey, you're unbiased today? Didn't say that in my contract.
Hey. All right, here we are, guys. We're not going to talk about bias anymore. It's a touchy subject. Let's get straight into game number 1, SKT versus DAMWON game. We are on the SKT side at the moment, so in our ears, the SKT chant was extraordinarily loud, but people raising their voices for DAMWON as well, I can hear on the other side of LOL Park. As Papa mentioned, it is a packed house, basically a bum on every seat. We'll see who's going to be able to take game number 1. You mentioned that SKT's mid-game composition should be able to come online relatively well, but I would imagine that DAMWON will have the first few minutes of the laning phase in a relatively good stead.
There's multiple conditionals here when it comes to how things go. We do feel like SKT has to really kind of put the pedal to the metal in the mid-game. That's where their comp really, really does shine. And getting there, they do have 2 winning lanes priority-wise. I like the Barris Tom Kench after level 1. And the bot lane matchup, Karma, of course, needs no explanation. Didn't actually go for Klepto, but could have against the Akali in the mid lane. And also when you look at top, that's the one winning lane for the side of DAMWON Gaming. It ended up being press the attack from Kennen, so couldn't quite go the AP and didn't want to have the kind of surrendering of the 1v1 in that matchup. And the Skarner jungle is the other conditional where Sejuani can do more things in laning phase, can go and gank for a hammer form Jace and also Akali, two melee champions. There is some synergy going on between those two. DAMWON Gaming can kind of rewrite those lanes with a snowball gank, so it's kind of on Canyon to stop this from being largely an SKT winning map, because if they can just parlay two winning lanes into a strong mid game, there is a very smooth power curve here for SKT to take down game number 1.
Yeah. And I think that your conversation about the fact that, you know, Canyon's sitting on 800 points now on his own at the top of the MVP rankings, I think that says probably more for how DAMWON have been getting their wins rather than necessarily how fantastic Canyon is as a player. Because whenever DAMWON wins, it's largely because Canyon has found his way around the jungle in an intelligent fashion and figured out how to get these counter ganks, how to get these lanes snowballed. So I think that bringing that up is hyper relevant here in this game when, yes, every time he makes a positive move in this early game, it's almost exponentially better for DAMWON moving into what can be a very perilous position.
And I actually find it really hard to talk about Canyon's play in isolation. And in fact, talking about DAMWON Gaming to LEC pros when I was over there was very interesting, because a lot of teams and coaches looked at DAMWON Gaming and they don't really understand their drafts, because DAMWON plays different to a lot of teams. That they don't often focus on team comp, they focus on lane matchups for ShowMaker and Nuguri, and end up with kind of like Karma Jace comps where you're like, wait, you got no initiation in this comp at all, you can't come from behind, you can't force anything. How do you make it happen? DAMWON Gaming, to me, play very solo lane focused, and then Canyon camps with the strongest laner. Whoever's winning, Canyon's like, well, I'll counter gank for this, and either he's taking turret plates or I'm getting kills. Kind of the way they play. So from behind, they will often capitulate because their comps don't really give them much breathing room from behind. So with two potentially losing priority lanes, it's not as straightforward for Canyon necessarily to play out this game. He might actually have to be about his own comp.
Well, BeryL trying to get a little bit aggressive there onto Teddy, getting into melee range with the stand behind me on a minion, but unable to quite figure anything out. And as you were talking about before, Effort and Teddy should have no worries in continuing to have a relatively dominant laning phase. Largely the Braum was picked for trying to get those ganks working in this lane. It does work into the Tahm Kench relatively well, but not going to be enough to get them over the line.
Blue side draft move was to analyze how DAMWON Gaming like to leave Nuclear and BeryL on an island, take an entire duo lane, and then say, well, you get one pick, and we're banning towards the second part of the bot lane. And Xayah Rakan being up without a Xayah or Rakan taken in first round on red side gave them this ability to hyper-target bot lane. So I'm a fan of what SKT did around that lane. It's not going to lead to kill pressure just yet, but it does lead to a lot of bot side control for this Skarner to take Scuttle and have his way.
In fact, double Scuttle for the Skarner as well in a matchup that you already highlighted can be difficult in the earlier stages for the Skarner. Both of these junglers a little bit slower to get to their power spikes and things like that. Both of them very reliant on level 6 as well. So I think that's why we're not seeing too much jungler attention in these lanes just yet.
But this is worrying for Canyon. You might say, okay, if it's farming, what's the problem? Let's talk about how SKT's draft plays on paper. Like what this draft looks like, what the coach is hoping for. It's Clid and FLICKR get to level 6, specifically Clid gets the ultimate, and then they roll down a bot side that they've already had priority and scuttle control over, and the turret dive with Varus ult, Skarner ult, Karma movement speed, pretty straightforward, right? Maybe you even launch in with a pretty close range Abyssal Voyage, depending on levels there. You spread your lead to make this game about SKT going where they have priority, where they have earlier power spikes, and DAMWON trying to lose the minimum, and then the map control is never there for DAMWON to play their side lane focused game as the game goes on, and then mid game comes in, DAMWON of course take team fights they didn't comp for, and SKT close out from there. So it's very much a high tempo draft. High tempo in this case means always active, always roaming, always using the weapons that you have. That's why Canyon needs to start fires in top, in bot, in mid, to not just make it about SKT doing SKT things.
Yeah. And I really like it. I like the fact that SKT have decided to take a more proactive approach, because what have we been asking from our LCK teams throughout this entire season? It is play more proactively. None of this, let's focus on not making mistakes, let's focus on actually making plays.
And talk about SKT in the 9-match win streak, and it's well, we've got Corki and another 80 carries, so you know we're going to win at some point. It's a lot of LS saying, hey, at this gold value, SKT
Why do we have to
auto
talk
wins.
about lull state all the time? Yeah, those sort of questions.
Because they were just confident in else SKT wins, which is kind of the banner they flew from 2015 through 2017 in a big way, right?
Yep.
This is not that kind of draw. Yes, it could win in the late game, but it is very much erring towards mid-game power. So I'm excited to see them be the team to throw out questions at the enemy rather than just backseat drive against the enemy, which is what I see from SKT in this particular game.
Interesting first pickup here from Nuguri. Goes back and gets himself a phase. Value's having a bit of the extra movement speed, does synergize very nicely with the phase rush, but he had the ability to purchase his a serrated Zerk, possibly even some boots after that. Decided to opt out. Interesting decision here from the Jace.
I'd love to tell you what it means. I sometimes try to read the tea leaves when it comes to item builds.
Yeah.
That cleaver is what we're expecting when it comes to where this goes to. But he's not against a tank, right? At the end of the day, that's usually a build against a true tank, play the Ruin King. And so I'm just guessing the Phage is largely for the Rage passive and, like you say, movement speed to try to avoid a top lane focus. But the health, the AD, it gives you a nice little amount of stats. Phage builds really well, but it's a surprise. And Nuguri is the most creative with his item builds and moves.
Well, speaking of being creative, Ultimate flies out here from Teddy, gets the double stun as Nuclear is very close to dying. 100 health for BeryL and Nuclear, but they do make it underneath the turret. One last auto not going to be enough. That's why you pop your potions, ladies and gentlemen. Nuclear's going to walk away. Canyon's here. Faker's lurking. The Inspire shield was down. Clid clears out a ward, and the bottom lane is going to escape. But these ganks should now be under fire, and this bottom lane is going to be further ahead.
And SKT, they were just trying to force summoners out of DAMWON before that Skarner ult comes down. Yes, they would have taken a 2v2 kill, but that was largely a game of chicken because we already talked about how SKT want to use their jungler to go bot side. Getting summoners out before you do that is, of course, going to be the true win condition. But Nuclear trying to be holding on to his flash, almost did it to his own peril. And right now, bereft of a lot of summoners in the 2v2, Teddy hits level 6 and instantly says, hey, let's fish and see what we can.
Yep, and they find it relatively effectively. Very early heal from Nuclear, I really like that. As both of the flashes come out, Teddy doesn't find the flash Q, which is why things were a little bit tougher in order to lock down that kill. So both of the 80 carries in the bottom lane don't have flash. BeryL still has his, as well as effort. So an opportunity for both of our junglers to get some work done.
Faker's taking a couple of backs, that's why he is not in a CS lead against the Akali. So Akali, potential to take over this game in the side lane. There's definitely going to be a game state where neither the Cannon nor the Karma will be able to match, and we already talked about the else scenarios where DAMWON Gaming does have some great options. The amount of mid-game though, like Turbo Skarner with Varus, there is a lot of mid-game power here, so actually having the amount of map control to play a 4-1 or a 1-3-1 game is by no means guaranteed for DAMWON, but that's what they'll be eyeing, is how much of an ability to wave the white flag and lose the minimum exists. For now, the bot lane, we already talked about, was the great focus of the draft and what we predict to be the play here. There's the double control wards, there's the roaming duo. Skarner will go back for now, but the amount of pressure on BeryL and Nuclear is super high.
Absolutely. I think now SKT probably want to be playing a little bit closer to the top side. I think that they have a composition that should be able to freely take Shelly and then use that to really propel them forward.
That's why you see the pings onto it. There is a control ward defending it. But this does feel like the game where it's already almost guaranteed we're getting all Drakes, because that's where we've had control wards and roams the entire time. Let's take Shelly and run straight at the Drake and get both. SKT ain't looking for no swapsies. They want to be greedy and take everything.
And also, they're going to be moving really fast. Double Cloud Drakes come in as our first couple of dragons of the game. 40 seconds until that second one is available. Clid. He's going to start off Shelly right now, as we were talking about. Teddy's going to make the switch towards the top side of the map, looking to grab all of those plates from the top turret. As Canyon gets a ward over here, spots that Shelly's being taken and has absolutely no right to dive into this pit by himself. So it is going to be SKT with entire control of this mid-game. And I love a team that can play around their comp and create situations where they are guaranteed to get stuck.
Can I point to a situation where the one tricky lane is now being zoned away that Jace has to deal with the enemy team playing topside? They jam down the Rift Herald, as a surrogate minion wave here. This is actually attacking the only losing lane they had, SK Telecom. They continue to group, they continue to amp, and I love it when a plan comes together. They're playing towards their proactive draft and doing it with aplomb.
Yep. Really nicely done. As you can see on the bottom side of the map, turret plates have gone down as well, but this is going to be the entire turret being removed. A lot of shared gold between jungle support and AD. Teddy probably a little bit frustrated about that. Does like to take the solo local gold, but he'll take an early turret. 11.5 minutes, and Shelly does her job wonderfully on the top side as Nuguri's looking to grab this wave. Second cloud does go over to DAMWON, and the third Drake of the game will be a Mountain, but SKT are happy to give away a Drake like that, and then can play towards this Mountain Drake coming up.
They're also happy to share their gold out. It's like if you notice, no one's getting solo plate gold. You might think, okay, why are we not just giving this all to Teddy? Right now, if you have a mid-game comp, it's very much a, when we have our items online as a team, we win. So you're happy for FLICKR to get closer to an Ardent Sensor, perhaps, or whatever the mid-game itemization is. It's not the hyper carry needs funneled gold. It's very much a, we need our items on time. So they've chosen to share that gold to get their one-item power spikes. Double Blade is done. It's not a lost chapter build from FLICKR to open up where it is, like you can see. The Athene's Unholy Grail, so SKT, as a grouping 5, have all of their core items done. Nuguri did rush the Black Cleaver straight up, so it's a very different approach to the lane, especially given Kennen is a lane opposition.
Well, he's going to dive right on top of Kahn, but Clid's going to turn up. The flash is still down. The Impale is there, and that is a very simple first blood going over to SKT Nuguri. Much like Nuguri is known to do, a little bit too far up.
Very easy for Clid to come from downtown, and we talked about how it's a different game state than Canyon's used to. He's on very much a vision information quest on the bot side, but cannot make a cross-map play like we saw possible. I mean, looking at Teddy here, they're looking for a turret dive.
Yep, Ward is going to go over. BeryL does find the Winter's Bite. The turret got a little bit angry with him there as well, but you can see ShowMaker making his way down. Is unable to really translate this CS advantage that he's been able to pick up for himself. Does find FLICKR here and dodges out of the way of the first Q and the second one.
A lot of magic was just stacked onto FLICKR already, so no solo kill potential on his opposition. But speaking of kills,
if you throw yourself a Sejuani in there, should be a free flash, and it is so. FLICKR now, without that summoner spell, could be important, but it's a karma, so you're not too worried about it really for SKT. They should still be able to continue the pressure that they have. 2,000 gold is now the lead as we have a look. Pretty elementary, my dear Watson.
Yeah, kind of looking at the mini-map, Nuguri did have pretty decent coverage wards. It obviously didn't give many river information, but you can understand why he thought he was okay to walk up to the tri-brush there. Just turned out that Clid, as a Predator jungler, had a lot of threat onto him. Speaking of Predator junglers, because it's Skarner, we always do the QSS look, and the tax hasn't been paid. Canyon.
Well, Canyon's still holding on to that Glacial Prison. 4 members bottom side.
2-level lead for Clid over Canyon.
Yeah.
Just tells you that wherever Clid has gone, he's been taking camps, or as we saw, getting involved in the first blood. Didn't expect that I would have been this game so fortuitous, but it does feel like Canyon hasn't been able to set up the game state that really led to those 8 MVPs that he's been able to pick up already this season.
And we talk about this team sort of playing around Canyon's power level, and that's why he's able to get so many of those MVPs. It's like live or die by our jungler. Unfortunately, in this game, their jungler hasn't really been there throughout most of it. Still, gold lead is by no means indicating that DAMWON are out of this one, but the problem is that SKT should now have their opportunity to put DAMWON in impossible situations if they can play it well, as FLICKR throws over a wall.
And these are the easiest games to cast because we've already laid out what SKT needed to do, and they've been fantastic at doing that so far.
Yeah.
But the impetus stays on them, so we just wait to see if the team that's on the proactive side can continue to get more. And it gets harder and harder when outer turrets will soon be all down. Right now it's just one, but SKT need to continue the sort of pace they're on. They got the Varus Tom for roam potential and strong siege in the mid lane, pushing up in the side lanes. DAMWON Gaming trying to stem the bleeding. And SKT trying to make this a proverbial blood bank, get all of that blood out there on the rift, as much gold as possible, as early as possible.
You can see Teddy happy to play so far up in this lane, getting free autos on the BeryL. does also pop the Blighted Quiver.
What is he scared of, right? He's got a Tahm Kench for the Glacial Prison, so that's what you can be able to do. Movement speed from FLICKR as well.
Avoiding all of the poke damage as well, as you can see, and able to offer his own back. Really nicely done stuff here for SKT. Topside though, Nuguri is going to be able to go back and pick up another minion wave. He still has a lead as far as that CS is concerned, but Kahn will be ahead in the gold, considering the turret plates that he's been able to knock down. There's a couple of daggers there.
Timing you guys are looking for. Ardent Sensor will be completed second item. FLICKR is literally a support. There is no even single lost chapter item that we sometimes see on these Karmas. And second item on Varus, that is where SKT, even if they're even gold, are way stronger.
Yeah, Flash and Veil comes in. BeryL's going to find one, though, onto a couple of people. Slicing Maelstrom, not a lot of value. Has Nuclear in there with a gigantic amount of burst damage. ShowMaker has found the backline, dives onto Kahn, picks up that kill by himself. Can he find the low health Tahm Kench? The Shock Blast can, as ShowMaker finds his moment. Dives over the wall, and now DAMWON have come alive, and they'll take themselves the Mountain Drake.
What a huge change in the game. SKT think they see something, they go for the flash ulti, but it's turned on its head by DAMWON Gaming, and it's the first snafu for the SKT early game plan.
I do like the idea. I do like what SKT did, but it was just way better what DAMWON did in response.
Question is, does Clid know enough to make this play? And the answer's kind of in the middle, yes and no. It seems like they overrate the damage output there, but because BeryL is there to tank and also Unbreakable is up in order to make a play, SKT can't actually route DAMWON Gaming like they assume they can on an early game comp, and then ShowMaker gets to play inside out, both sides of the Drake pit. They exit with a couple of kills, some important gold goes the way of DAMWON, and now SKT need to make sure their next play sticks the landing as FLICKR's 2-item build is complete.
Yeah, I think that's a large problem here, because if FLICKR had have actually found a back timing before that trigger was pulled, then that's so much added damage. They've got two people that are running attack speed-based builds in the Cannon and the Varus, and so the Ardent Sensor with the AoE application of the Inspire would have been a hell of a lot of value. So we'll see whether the next fight is going to work.
It wasn't online.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
They chose to fight it anyway. Like the flash investment from Clid. They saw something, and we can't know without count. They saw something that didn't appear to be there as readily. The gold lead, as we knew, was only, what, 1,500 gold before then, and now it's basically a wash between the two teams. SK Telecom, still no QSSs outside of Braum, though, so they can set up some vision leads, and when they have a Tahm Kench roam potential and Varus ult, Skarner ult, there's still picks to be had on DAMWON Gaming if they try to play their standard 1-3-1 game, which, no surprise, they've been trying to play.
Yep. The only issue for SKT now is that ShowMaker is huge. He's a gigantic monster. He is going to be building BeryL and Omicron. Don't tell LS, anyone. But that is going to be his second item. The core is already there, and he does so much damage if he can jump onto one of the squishy targets.
He could go Void Staff.
I hope so.
I think the healing from the Karma is something that you definitely think about, and obviously play the Ruin King as well, but I think Void Staff makes a lot more sense here. We'll wait and see. Again, because of just power spike level, getting 2 items early, you could understand it.
He's building it.
Look, there's going to be one eventually, right? By hook or by crook, there'll be one in this game. Yeah. The Kai'Sa one, I love. Blowing his brain up. The Kai'Sa Baronomicon from Sungyun. Bless his heart. Sungyun's our favorite Joker, and he probably didn't even know the next level he had going on in that game.
He definitely, if that was a prank, it was one hell of a prank. Because they also won the game. That's the best part.
That's a match history and item choice that's always going to be there as a winning choice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If you've got the match history, guys, make sure that if you feel like tilting LS, just send it to him on Twitter. No worries.
Use the Winnie the Pooh meme, you know, the one where he's like disapproving into approving with that Morellonomicon. Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Well, speaking of which, it is completed now. 2 items for both of the solo laners for DAMWON Gaming.
And it kind of has to be we rock up, start sieging, or we rock up, start up an objective, and this is the power level kind of guarantee. FLICKR will go for probably Death Cap as 3rd item just to have bigger shield strength, but Rapid Fire Cannon is done from Varus. This is the point in the game where even though DAMWON Gaming could outplay, it requires an outplay to get a lot of value. Here's Nuguri. He's going to be targeted.
Yep, down again positioning though from Canyon. Throws down the prison, and now the teleports have to be invested. Abyssal Voyage coming down as well. Effort right in there as the Impale is on top of Canyon. And whether or not The stopwatch comes in, he is still going to die. The piggy bank starting to spill the coins rather than doing any collecting this game.
And they get a reactionary TP from ShowMaker that's too late in order to actually be involved in the play, and that relieves pressure from 1-3-1. And if DAMWON Gaming can't try to 1-3-1 when SKT group for an objective, that suits SKT just fine as they get the 5v5 at the time they're looking for. So for the stakes in this game, for it not to be DAMWON Gaming just making it 3 lanes, trying to push SKT apart at the seams, that's actually really important for SKT when it comes to trying to force the game in this 20 to 28 minute phase where on paper they should be stronger.
Well, this mid-outer turret is something that they really need to put a bit of effort into taking down, no pun intended. It is very high health and also very high value here for SKT. They want to try and get some control of DAMWON's jungle so that they can play that suffocation style and make it much safer to play their style of League of Legends. Nuguri going to come over and help them with this river control as the next mountain is available in 15 seconds. Massively high value for DAMWON, meaning that these Barons need to constantly be respected. And as soon as DAMWON can make SKT play on their tempo, like we've been talking about all game, it is going to be a huge shift in power level for both of these teams. And another dragon fight might be a problem here for SKT. The last one didn't do so well.
They're pretty disconnected though. Kahn and Clid are pretty far away.
ShowMaker in great position for this flanking play as the dragon is going to go for free. Over to DAMWON and SKT, no. There is no way for them to gain any control of this area, so that is a big one for DAMWON to get against the run of play as it should be.
They're trying to get mid lane turret as a response to this. DAMWON Gaming get around, they clear the minion wave, or try to.
Yep, defensive poke coming down from Nuguri as well. A fair bit of damage from these shock blasts now as Kahn taking some turret shots, taking some extra damage there. I think BeryL has been playing really well, blocking this poke and blocking the options from SKT in the front line. He was the first one to build the QSS, knowing that he wanted to play that style of League of Legends and has done so very well so far.
SKT are finding it very hard to get past those early objectives. We talked about how we ticked off their play up to the Rift Herald transition around 12 minutes, and so they pretty much played the ideal game. But since then, they haven't been able to take down mid lane or bot lane turret. The Baron is spawned, they have no threat on it. The duality of the Mountain Drake is interesting, Atlas, because it's very easy to say that from behind, Mountain Drake doesn't give you much. So, for example, you can't take down a Drake, but denying SKT's comp that wants to group and force Mountain Drake actually has a huge effect on the game. Because 2 Mountain Drake SKT can just make those Baron turns with the Karma AoE shield and the
that outer turret's dead, right? Like
that also, but they can also just say, hey, come to our Baron. Look at how fast we're going to do it with Ardent Sensor. And that isn't possible without those Mountain Drakes. So SKT being late for Mountain Drake really does frustrate the game from their side. And DAMWON Gaming, they may not be able to use this Mountain Drake early, but if the map ever resets, if a pick comes out at 30 minutes, they run at Baron, and like you're already alluding to, Baron just pretty much leaves the pit and passes over the buff and says, no, you've got this one.
Yeah. I think this also adds to an extra problem for SKT as well, because what we were talking about the fact that this composition controls the game and makes you play the way they want you to play. If you add the fact that DAMWON can kill Baron in 3.5 seconds into that equation, then SKT needs to be consistently thwarting the Baron pick. You can see Clid over there right now. He's unable to be utilized counter-jungling, denying objectives, ganking a side lane that Nuguri is overextended in, things like that. It means that DAMWON have an extra arrow to their bow, string to their bow.
Kahn has an extra oomph to his side lane, but she's gone Frozen Mallet for the 1v1 build. Very early here, kind of an old Gnar build that we would see back in the day. We don't even see it on Gnar anymore. It's basically the I want to catch phase rush Jace. And
we've been seeing it, but it's 3rd or 4th item almost every time.
This is to get the pick onto Nuguri, basically, is the thought there. Phase rush is on cooldown, you start the slow, Predator comes in, you kill Nuguri, and maybe that unlocks a side lane turret or a Baron. So it is a lot into now. It's very much a let's use this to get a pick in the next 5 minutes to get our comp where it needs to be. We've mentioned kind of 22 to 28 minutes. We're smack bang in the middle, Atlas, so it's all about the now for SKT. Living on a prayer a little bit, but this needs to be the moment they blow open the game.
Yep, we've got the Impale coming down though as Canyon. He knew that was going to happen immediately. ShowMaker goes into his stopwatch, backflips away. Great ultimate there from BeryL, who sets up the Unbreakable to keep himself alive. And DAMWON, great defensive play, but I have a feeling that they were looking for more from from that counter gank opportunity.
Health bars are low though on DAMWON. We'll see how they respond. That is the change onto the Shroud, able to get that Skarner ulti as we could see. And SKT will get this turret, so ShowMaker overrating his Shroud is the reason they lose the all-important mid lane turret.
Yep, Nuguri now going to have to come over here as well and defend this inner turret as the minions are the priority. They do manage to take them down, but SKT still looking to get more and more. As this is an SKT now playing with some fire in their bellies, as you can see, wanting to try and get themselves through this mid-game portion with the lead that they want. 2.3 thousand gold is not enough.
It's comforting to see them, though, understand the predicament they're in and try to force things, because just farming it out here is the worst possible line of questioning that SKT could go down. FLICKR wants his death cap before we do make it about an objective. Speaking of, Infernal Drake is of quintessentially high value in this particular game. It'll hit the Rift in 30 seconds. DAMWON have been in position to secure the last two, the two mountains. But this time, it seems like Vision's all been moved topside from both teams.
Yeah, they do have Clid hanging around top side of the map as DAMWON's teleport is up there, so in theory, DAMWON can play around the Drake a little bit more comfortably.
You don't want to force anything too hard, because I assume FLICKR wants to get that recall in. And yep, this will be the death cap recall from FLICKR. After that, TP is up, so he will be able to regroup.
Yep, good vision down spots that Canyon was moving on over as well, so SKT with full knowledge that this Drake is a comfortable one. Teleport going to be utilized as BeryL throws his ward over. They know that this Drake is being taken, but DAMWON now, knowing that they're on the back foot, aren't going to invest anything in there as they move over to the Baron pit, try and get control of this area. Drake is going to go down. We'll see with it. DAMWON just try and burst it down. They are going to jump into this pit and take it. Okay, it's going down extraordinarily quickly. That's what the double mountain Drake is going to do as Kahn is boosting his way forward. The Baron is going to go over to DAMWON, but can they get out safely? Arctic Assault stand behind me, and it looks like DAMWON have done it, but Clid's going to pick one out. Nuguri's going to flash though to try and get out of there. BeryL going to be the first one to go down as Canyon's in the front line. It's trade 1 for 1 as the Skarner's going to bite the dust, and the Blade Caller is such high value from Nuclear. ShowMaker, can you backflip fast enough as Kahn is slowing them with his frozen mallet? ShowMaker just can't nip out of there as quickly as he would want, and now has to try and stay in here. Almost gets Kahn off the back end, but 2 kills for 1 and a Baron. I'd probably take that if I'm DAMWON Gaming.
Absolutely, Atlas, because you get the Baron off the Rift, and the siege comp with Baron would have been too much for an Akali to try to wave clear against the wave clear and the poke and the rapid fire cannon Varus be able to do. Here's Teddy, though, trying to walk up, get this turret down, even against the Baron. SKT lose that objective as one to try to contest over. At minimum, that will extend the game from DAMWON's perspective. They were forced to fight to get an exit. 3 people get out. You'll take it as DAMWON Gaming.
I absolutely love that call from DAMWON, though. Just knowing that if there's a jungler on the Dragon, we can guarantee that we'll get this Baron and get out with acceptable losses.
And that's what they do. They throw out the Glacial Prison defensively and then just try to get the hell out. And they're happy there are red side teams. They can actually go behind the pit and try to escape. The reason this doesn't end up in a routing is watch Teddy. Remember, he's the MVP here as the one who has the Ardent Sensor Karma in his pocket. He doesn't have vision behind because they're fighting in terrain that is not SKT favored.
ShowMaker.
So he gets kited away from, even with things like Karma shields. And it was a ShowMaker block that stopped Canyon from going down to the Flash Q. Frozen Mallet tech still pretty good on the chase, but it could have been much higher casualties from a DAMWON Gaming perspective.
What a beautiful thing for ShowMaker to do. Sacrifice himself for the good of his jungler. Probably not the right move, because if one of them's going to go down, you probably want your split push to have Baron, but beggars can't be choosers. This outer turret certainly is going to be taken. 4-4 is the kill score. 3-3 now is the turret score. 30 minutes into this game, we have a very, very close one on our hands. Kahn is going to push SKT over the line just a little bit more, as the on-hit cannon in the side lane is a very, very scary prospect, and we'll be eating some time on this Baron as well by adding to that pressure. You saw BeryL and Nuclear are going to fall for the bait, and that is going to evade the rest of the pressure on this map.
I wonder if we go full old school cannon build and go into the Hurricane here, but it's the Perma CC cannon build.
Yeah.
We used to see this a couple of years ago back in that Cannon versus Snar matchups where you would go rapid fire cannon, and yes, You don't do a lot of damage, you don't blow someone up in the side lane, but you enter a team fight, and between your Mark of the Storm and Perma AoE Frozen Mallet, you do incredible crowd control, and they've got the speed ups to aid the slowdowns on the side of SKT. So potential there for Teddy to be able to close the distance.
With Blade of the Rune King as well, it does sort of add to that value that you get.
But instead has gone for the Phantom Dancer here for a little bit more sturdiness in the 1v1 on the side lane, and also, of course, DWG Gaming might be sending a Kali as a piggyback to try to get some picks on that.
Yep. Don't mind it at all, as Kahn's going to make his way in, looking to go aggressive under Nuguri here. Nuguri pretty happy about that one, actually, as Kahn's tanking the turret. Canyon's going to move on over, but Kahn just has so much control of when he wants to and when he doesn't want to put on the pressure. ShowMaker has found Teddy to devour very early. Glacial Fissure is going to be thrown out. A lot of extra space given after that devours Regurgitate as Canyon finds himself in the back line. No mana onto Teddy as DAMWON are looking to push further forward. 5 members barreling down the mid lane as Clid will be slowed and destroyed. ShowMaker picks up that kill, and now SKT find themselves well and truly on the back foot.
Really intelligent collapse from DWG Gaming. The moment they saw Clid rolling through the enemy jungle, ShowMaker goes all in the mid lane with the 2 pushing up of Tahm Kench and Varus. And the reason why things fall off from SKT is that when the shields are down, if they're not grouped as a 5 and DWG Gaming coming to them, you've got so much damage on the side of DWG Gaming that they're able to focus down a couple of members. SKT need to be the sum of their parts. Isolated, they're in trouble.
Well, Winter's Bite is going to go wide here as Kahn's looking to try and get a tag. Doesn't find the Q, doesn't find an auto. DWG are going to make it out, looking to set up a bit of a gank rush here as SKT. Are you going to face check? The answer is no. Heads up play there from SKT, and now they might be in a position where they've routed this DWG Gaming squad. Not going to happen just yet. The gold is entirely even. The Drakes basically even given the value of an Infernal Drake.
It is obscene how many shields and temporary health gains are on the side of SKT. Actually obscene. We have Phantom Dancer, we have Stone Plate. Karma needs no introduction. There's so much
There's
shielding.
a Bloodthirster now as well.
I know, another
Teddy's
overshield.
got his extra one.
And Tahm Kench is Tahm Kench.
And the amount of augmentation for this guy as well. He's got a Zeke's Herald and a Knight's Vow in his support.
The most important thing here is on the minimap. That is when Karma and Skarner said, we're going to get you, Sejuani, to try and came for the counter gank. And what did DWG do? All in on the mid lane Tahm Kench Varus, knowing there's kills to be made, and then the support bot doesn't have, in Karma doesn't have an AD carry to shield, then Clid is too far up. This is DWG Gaming make a very good reactionary call, which is was not their calling card in Spring. They would so often trip up in mid to late game macro in Spring. They kind of needed to be, as SKT comp this game in Spring season, just to win games.
Yeah.
Summer season, they've made the better calls. They did it against KT last time out, and now we're at 60k gold versus 60k gold.
Canyon is going to find the ultimate. The Devour's immediately there, but they knew that was going to happen. Effort just pops like a balloon, and the Varus immediately follows him. Faker is going to get picked off, and this is SKT's collapse at this stage of the game. Could the game just be over right now?
It's over now, Atlas. Why are they far up when their tanks are towards the side clearing wards? The duo lane goes far too far up, and the game's over.
Yep, unfortunately, the tiptoe, this walking on the tightrope has been fallen off by SKT, and now the last-ditch fight is going to be lost. They knew they had to do it, and they knew it wasn't going to work. The ace comes out, and DWG Gaming have taken down SKT in game number 1. It was so close until it was over.
SKT put on some new running shoes today. They wanted to try the proactive side that they played in fits and spurts at the start of spring season. But in summer season, it started to slow down in the mid-game, but 2 catches onto their duo lane who were desynced away from their tanks and shielding support just allowed DWG Gaming to hit 2 home runs, and that was the difference between the 2 teams in game number 1.
Yep, overestimating the safety that the Tahm Kench will provide as well, I think had a lot to do with it there. And Varus and Tahm Kench the entire game were playing with that priority that they gained for themselves based on the composition. But DWG just knew that they'd gone online. They figured it out, and they pulled the trigger.
They had the conditional info and the confident players, which is what they didn't have in spring season. They do have in summer that say, wait, they're far up, and we see the tanks around the side. We see Karma pushing over there. They're not grouped as 5. They don't have a vision leads. They're trying to play multiple lanes. If we get this catch, turns out Karma's shielding a tank cannon and a Skarner and a Tom Kench doesn't matter. It needs the Varus. The Varus is the only one who couldn't overstep, and twice in a row, that led to the end of the game from a DAMWON Gaming perspective.
That's Nuclear's mom on your screen right now, giving the energy to the AD carry of DAMWON Gaming. There he is. And thank you very much, Mom, because that is going to be a Game 1 win in a very, very close one to start off this series. And those sort of games mean a lot more. To sort of just move on past what just happened. Losing a game where you were in control for the entire time when the game felt like it was this tightrope walk towards the end means a lot more than losing a game where you just get trapped, where the composition didn't necessarily work. We're going to have a look at these final moments. DAMWON just, they find their window.
Well, they saw Skarner topside. They knew he wasn't good. They didn't have they had incomplete information on the rest, but how did they find their last good moment? Hard force on Varus Tom. It'll work out one way or the other. They've got huge damage by this point. Remember, 60,000 versus 60,000 gold is when all of the hard damage carries on the side of DAMWON are online. And you can see that control, but this is a game where the bounds of the top and bottom gold lead are very relevant. It never exploded. It was around 1,000 to 2,000 gold lead for SKT. They were in complete control for the first 12 minutes. But if you come back and isolate, why did SKT lose in this game? I'd focus on mid lane turret. The mid lane turret, living for so long, really delayed the game, and SKT couldn't look for the Mountain Drakes or the game close of game number 1.
And that first team fight was so pivotal there as well. So I have a feeling that ShowMaker isn't going to get his hands on the Akali in our second match. We'll see what else they're going to bring out. A lot of questions from both of these teams that need to be answered. And thankfully, in a best-of-3 scenario, we're going to get some answers after this short break, guys. Don't go anywhere.
미드. 잠깐 걸어봐도 되나?
걸어봐야 돼.
걸어봐야 돼.
달렸어.
아, 걸어볼게.
오케이.
천천히.
나이스.
해도 빨리. 해도 빨리 박아. 나이스. 야, 스테이지. 아, 침착해. 내풀 다 있어. 수도 다 있어.
캐넨 봐.
잘 쳐야 돼.
캐넨 바로 밀어줄게.
다야죠.
라인 지켜.
아, 천천히 해. 다 왔죠.
아, 물어봐.
위에 거부터 다 왔죠. 타워. 캐넨. 잡아야 돼. 캐넨.
너플.
다 나이스.
캐리했죠. 덩글 캐리.
나쁘지
아, 건무. 대단했다.